Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Moore's October Rants. Today's rant is titled, Social Media is Meaningless. All right, let's dive in. Social media, it's one of those things that's kind of a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, I get why it exists and why people use it. It's useful. You can keep up with family and friends, catch news as it breaks, and even share moments or ideas with people all over the world. It has its moments where it actually feels meaningful. But if we're being real, most of it, day in and day out, is completely pointless. It's almost like this loud, constant background noise we've all just learned to live with. A lot of people on there don't even take it seriously. It's like, to them, social media is one big playground where nothing they do or say really matters. People throw up a post, share a story, maybe throw in a hot take, but they don't even think twice about it. And for some reason, that's the vibe that's kind of taken over. Everyone's just there scrolling, liking, and commenting, not really engaging in any real way. They're just killing time. And I don't know about you, but after a while, that just feels empty. Like, you're there, but you're not really there. I used to want to connect with people online, actually talk to them, have genuine conversations, maybe even make a few friends that I'd call my online buddies. I thought I'd meet people who shared my interests, people I could have real discussions with. But over time, I started seeing the internet for what it is, just a bunch of people kind of playing games. Not video games, necessarily, but just this weird back and forth of look at me, argue with me, give me attention. It felt like every attempt at real connection was just lost in the noise. And because everyone's just out there for attention, it's created this environment where negativity is king. You scroll through your feed, and it's like everywhere you look, people are arguing, trolling, or just outright trashing each other. It's almost like we've normalized it. Think about how easy it is to get sucked into that. You see a post, someone's comment ticks you off, and suddenly you're wrapped up in some pointless argument with a stranger. You don't know them, they don't know you. But there you are, letting it get to you. You catch yourself taking it personally. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized none of this matters. I mean, really think about it. What's the weight of an insult from some random person you'll never meet, who probably doesn't even care about what they're saying? They're probably bored, scrolling, and taking out their day on you or anyone else who'll give them a reaction. And they're from who knows where. Some other state, maybe even another country. They're probably having a totally different experience in life. And here I am, letting them mess with my day over some comment that, deep down, even they don't really believe. And if we ever did meet these people in real life, it'd be totally different. I guarantee you they wouldn't be half as brave or half as aggressive face to face. That's the funny thing about the internet. It gives people this courage that just isn't real. They say things they'd never dare to say in person. So much of it is fake. It's just this screen between us where everyone feels invincible, like they can be someone else entirely. I started thinking about this a lot and realized just how many of us are feeding into this. You get sucked into these arguments, or you find yourself spending hours scrolling and feeling some type of way because someone didn't like your post or said something negative. But at the end of the day, it's all meaningless. You can literally block these people, mute them, or just move on. With a couple of clicks, they're gone. You can choose who to interact with and who to ignore. And you know what? I actually think it's hilarious. Sometimes I sit back and watch these internet fights, and it's like watching people argue in circles. No one's really listening. Everyone's just yelling louder to be heard. It's like a sport. Everyone's just in it for the thrill of the argument, but in a week, no one's going to remember what it was about. It takes me back to my Xbox days, honestly. I used to spend hours on party chats, trash talking, and going back and forth with people. It was all fun, just messing around, throwing out roasts, and sometimes getting into heated arguments over things that now I can't even remember. We'd argue for hours, but once we logged off, none of it mattered. It was just a good time. And looking back, it's clear how meaningless all of that was. None of it ever left a lasting impact. Most of those people I argued with back then, they've all moved on. Just like I have. They probably don't even remember half the things we argued about, let alone the words that were said. Because in the grand scheme of things, none of it was important. It's the same with social media. These little arguments, these minor insults, these spats in the comment section, they're just blips. Moments that mean nothing once they're over. Think about your own experiences with social media. If you've been on it for years, do you actually remember all the arguments you've had on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? Think back 5, 6, 7 years ago. Do any of those exchanges even stick with you now? Probably not, right? Because none of it was that important to begin with. It's all just noise, and we get to choose which parts we want to keep listening to and which parts we let fade away. And don't get me wrong, some of it is serious. There are real people out there with real lives, and sometimes there are genuine issues that come up. But in the grand scheme, we have the choice to decide what's meaningful and what's meaningless to us. And for me, most of social media is just empty words from people I'll never meet. Words that don't mean a thing once you close the app. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. We all have the power to choose what we want to focus on, and I think a lot of us, myself included, could stand to take social media a lot less seriously. So next time you find yourself getting worked up over something someone said online, just take a step back and ask yourself if it's really worth it. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of Moore's October Rants. Signing out. Goodbye.